Hi everybody, and welcome to the Resume Jumpstart. I'm Doug Mays, a career consultant supporting our graduate business students here at NC State. So this webinar will cover the basics of how to write a clear and concise resume that'll get noticed by recruiters and hiring managers, leading to more interviews and more opportunities to grow your career. That's why you're here in the first place, right? So let's start with the basics. The resume writing process is really a three-stage process with continuous improvement along the way. The first stage is getting all that you've done on paper. This can be the hardest part. That white page can be kind of scary. The second stage is making your resume accomplishment-based. We'll focus on the first two stages today. This is just a jump start. Crafting your resume is an iterative process. It will not be perfect at the end of this webinar, and you'll work with your career coach and your peers to refine it over time. Now, I posted a couple of example resumes on the website next to this webinar. You may want to hit the pause button, print those two resume samples off, and follow along as we dig into the individual components. So I thought LinkedIn killed the resume. As much as every grad biz student would like to see the old school resume go out like VHS tapes and pleated pants, the resume, unfortunately, is not dead. In fact, it's not even approaching retirement. Here are a couple of reasons why. When you apply for a job online, it's a given that resume filtering software will scan and rank your document for keywords from the job description. Companies spent $6 billion in online recruitment tools last year because there are simply far too many resumes for hiring managers to sift through manually. These systems do not work with online profiles. The systems also help the company comply with hiring laws by treating each resume submission, and therefore each candidate, the same way. Another reason is a great resume can be tailored to match your requirements in a job description by adding and removing relevant accomplishments as needed. Contrast that with your LinkedIn profile, which is a comprehensive recap of all your work and may not be aimed at one audience. The resume communicates only relevant information for your specific audience. It's just another marketing document, and every marketing document has an intended audience. Here's something to keep in mind. No company ever hired a resume. The best resume ever won't get you a job. What it may get you is an interview. Our job today is to give you the tools needed to create a resume that'll showcase your unique accomplishments in a way that'll get you the attention you deserve in the marketplace. Now, once you get that face-to-face meeting, then you can close a deal. But no need to sell everything about yourself in your cover letter and resume. You want to use these materials to entice the reader and encourage them to invite you in for a meeting, just like a good advertisement encourages you to take a second look at a product. This chart comes from a survey of corporate recruiters taken in 2013. Recruiters are most concerned with both the quality and length of your past work experience and the relevance of your past work to their company. Now, although they're not throwaways, factors like the visual elements of your resume and your transcripts or grades are generally less important. You also have to communicate this information quickly. The same study found that recruiters on average spend 6 seconds looking at your resume. 6 seconds. That's it. We have to reframe the way we think about resumes. Rather than seeing your resume as a laundry list of everything you've done, think of it as a marketing document designed to share the information that will move your audience and motivate them to act. A resume isn't a passive thing. It's a call to action. If I haven't scared you off, let's keep going. Now, before you revise your resume, you want to take some time to reflect upon your strengths and career goals. Write down your top qualities or skills and think about items that make you different and unique in the marketplace. What value and knowledge do you provide to an organization and team? Look at your past performance reviews to gain insights into what your accomplishments have been. Review any career assessments that you've taken, like StrengthsFinder or Career Leader. What unique things stand out about you? Now, once you've identified your accomplishments and strengths, you're ready to begin. Here are a few things to keep in mind when crafting your resume for the first time. It needs to look professional, and it should be easy to navigate. Don't make your reader work too hard to find key dates and measurable results. Use terminology specific to your industry without getting uber technical. Most recruiters also prefer the traditional chronological order format. Now, there are several other styles, and they're appropriate if you're changing industries or functional areas. But for most of us, the old-fashioned most recent experience on top format works just fine. Always use action-oriented verbs to lead off your bullet points. This is not the time to use passive phrases like participated in or worked on. And finally, always have a clear and specific job focus. Now, this is really the third stage of resume preparation, so we'll get there. You may not do this, or you may not have accomplished this rather by the end of this resume webinar, but after a few meetings with your coach, you'll begin to be able to tailor your resume to specific jobs and career paths. These are the sections that we've identified as most important for most people creating their resume on the graduate business level. It really should follow this simple format. We begin with personal data, we have an objective or a positioning statement, we list our education. For many of us, education is towards the top of the resume because part of the reason you're coming back to graduate business school is to make a career change. Finally, there's an optional section that lists keywords around your professional skills and qualifications. The professional experience section is the meat of the resume where we talk about your specific accomplishments in each job. And then we wind things up highlighting your professional development and work in the community. All right. Now, this is the point in the webinar where you may want to push the pause button and print off the screen that you see in front of you. This is one sample resume, and in a moment we'll begin walking through the various parts. And then here's an alternative sample that you may use. What I like about both of these samples is that they are simple and easy to read. Now, here's a note on templates. These aren't resume templates. You're welcome to use the format that highlights your accomplishments best. Buyer beware, though. Your career coach has created thousands of resumes, and we've developed these suggested formats over the years based on direct feedback from hiring managers. If we know it works, why not use it? Let's begin walking through the sections. Here's the simplest and easiest way to format your contact information. It's clean, simple, and saves space versus stacking your info on top of each other. Now, that can take up to 4 or 5 lines, and the top of the resume is the most valuable real estate. Also, be sure to use your NCSU email address. Nothing unprofessional or too relaxed is appropriate here. You know who you are. Let's move on to the objective and or positioning statement. So we have a couple of example objectives here. These are very straightforward. To obtain an internship in the field of supply chain management. This leaves no room for doubt, and it's appropriate for a first-year MBA, for example, who's looking for a summer internship. A good objective, frankly, is like a pickup line. It can turn someone away, or it can get them interested in you. Make sure to review your strengths profile as you create an objective. An objective needs to clearly state your career focus and the value that you bring to an organization. Now, in place of that objective, you can create a positioning statement like the one that we have here that would incorporate your strengths and career focus with a little more detail. The majority of full-time MBA students utilize an objective statement rather than a positioning statement for on-campus recruiting positions. Normally in the second year, when somebody is launching into a full-time job search, you'll see them develop more of a positioning statement that gives a little more detail. It's entirely up to you, however. The professional qualifications section highlights the skills, both technical and interpersonal, that you'd bring to an organization. Now, this section is optional, but it's useful. Companies are looking for a specific skill set for their positions. Now, even though you may not have the experience in a particular area, you do have many transferable skills that you need to consider. A couple examples are in this list: project management, financial analysis. Now, these things cross over regardless of the type of position you're applying for. Now, when applying to a position, make sure that your resume contains key skills that pertain to the exact position. I also like to show a balance of leadership skills and technical skills, which is why team collaboration shows up in this mix. Like I said, the blank page can be a scary thing, and often the first struggle is to determine what's worthy of inclusion on your resume. Now remember that earlier in this process I asked you to reflect on significant accomplishments from your past work experience. Now's the time to craft accomplishment statements for the professional experience section of your resume. This is the meat and potatoes where you get to articulate exactly what you've achieved and how you've added value to your employer. Begin writing down your key accomplishments and projects from each job. I don't care about the job duties from the job description. So what? Write down specific examples of where you crushed it. When did you move the needle? That's what we need to capture on your resume. Let's break this down into chunks. Now, when beginning to craft your bullet points, use these questions to guide you through them. What specifically did you do? How did you do it? Meaning, what methodology did you use? And did you do it well? What was the result on the business? How did it move the needle? Now keep in mind here that a quantitative result is great. In this instance, we increased sales by 20%, but a qualitative result is equally good. If you worked on an organizational initiative that was designed to build the culture, you still can have an excellent result that didn't necessarily move the needle in sales. So if you find yourself in a situation where your results are hard to quantify, but you know you've made an impact, talk with your career coach and we'll work you through the language of how to do it. Here are a couple examples of what this looks like when it's done well. So we're going to move from a very passive language example here. Assisted with the development of a marketing project that improved from last year. All right, let's take a look at what's wrong here. Assisted with is a very passive verb. It didn't show that you led anything in particular. You were just kind of along for the ride. With the development of a marketing project. You don't specify what that marketing project was. It could be anything. And then we also have a weak result in this instance. It improved from last year. Well, how much and in what regard? Let's give this thing a little makeover and see what we have. Evaluated existing marketing strategies and developed and executed a redesigned marketing campaign that increased sales by 35% over the previous year. So we gave specific examples of the methodology that was used. In this instance, we evaluated existing marketing strategies, the action that we took further, developed and executed a redesigned marketing campaign, and then finally, a good quantitative result, increased sales by 35% over the previous year. Now, I'd argue that we could even get more specific with this bullet point, but this is a vast improvement over what was presented before. And then let's look at the second example as well. Change supply distribution procedures. Well, my response to this one is a big so what. Let's look at this with a little bit of a makeover. So re-engineered, there's a good supply chain keyword, by the way, a system of supply chain manufacturing and inventory ordering. We're getting specific now. Supply chain manufacturing and inventory ordering, that's exactly what we were looking at, that increased product delivery by 45%. Huge quantifiable result. Much better than it was before. Here are a couple examples of how this can work. Now, this first example here is a supply chain person who was searching for an MBA internship. This is a cut and paste from an actual resume. I will give you a moment to take a look at this. It might be a good time to hit the pause button and dig into the specific language that's used here. This second example is a little more marketing focused, so you may want to hit the pause button and take a look at this if you're a marketing professional. At this point, we worked from the very top of the resume all the way down, and this is the last section. You're not just an employee. We've heard from employers that they want to see your involvement in the community and at school on your resume also. Now, lots of students ask us how far back they should go in detailing their professional development. Think about including the items that are most relevant to your audience. So if you're looking for a position in marketing and you're a member of the American Marketing Association, then including that is a no-brainer. If you have questions about what to include and what to leave off, please consult your career coach. We can help. So you worked hard to create meaty bullet points that show results. You need to get the little things right also. Be consistent with the tenses that you use. If you're referencing past work experience, write in the past tense. Be consistent with the punctuation that you use also. Don't have some bullet points with periods and others without. Keep it the same all the way through. Use strong action-oriented verbs. This is not the place to put worked on or participated in. That sounds wimpy and weak. We don't want any of that. And then finally, at this point in your career, typos are unacceptable. Use spell check, but don't rely upon it because, as we know, it doesn't always work. You now have the tools you need to begin creating your resume. Now it's just you versus the scary white page, but you have what it takes to conquer it. Remember, this is an iterative process. It won't be perfect at the end of this webinar. Connect with your coach for feedback and to begin tailoring your resume towards specific career paths. We look forward to working with you. Thank you for joining me. We'll see you next time.